It was in the summer of 1995 in my very small suburban town of Anaheim, California, when my whole life had changed forever. School was just starting, and for my 14th birthday, my parents had gotten me a brand new Nintendo 64 with brand new Nintendo 64 controllers. I was very excited, but noticed that my parents had not gotten me any games for my new Nintendo 64. One day I decided to ride my bike to check out the local garage sales in my area to see if they were selling any Nintendo 64 cartridges for my new Nintendo 64. On one such fall day, I was riding my bike through a nearby neighborhood in Elk Grove where I saw a scary-looking old man standing in his driveway in front of his house next to a folding table of junk with a big yard sale sign in his hand. I hopped off my custom Basalt ST bike and approached the man and his table. Amongst the junk he was selling were super old Blackberries and a vinyl record. I noticed he also had one single Nintendo 64 cartridge on the table. It was a beat-up looking copy of Pokemon Colosseum. I was a big fan of the Pokemon games and have several Pokemon plushies in my room. I asked the man how much it was, but when I turned around, the man was gone. I looked back to the table of junk and the Nintendo 64 cartridge, but saw that the table of junk was also gone. Alone on the driveway was the Nintendo 64 cartridge of Pokemon Colosseum. I picked it up and held the Nintendo 64 cartridge in my hands. It felt really cold. I decided to take it with me, and when I looked up to leave, I saw I was standing in a vacant lot. I wanted to freak out, but kept my cool and put the Nintendo 64 cartridge in my pocket and pedaled my bike home. When I got home, I decided that I wanted to play my new Nintendo 64 game, and when I went to put in the Nintendo 64 cartridge, I saw something written on the Nintendo 64 cartridge in black permanent marker that I had not noticed before at the garage sale. On the top of the Nintendo 64 cartridge was written the name, Scar Yoak. I thought it was a strange name, but I am super inclusive of things that are strange and don't judge. I plugged in my Nintendo 64 into my CRT TV and put the Nintendo 64 cartridge into the Nintendo 64. When I turned on the game, there was the normal Pokemon Colosseum title screen, but something was different. Professor Oak was on the title screen like always, but instead of his normal face, he had a big creepy smile and seemed to be looking right at me. I thought it was weird, but played Pokemon Colosseum all day and soon forgot about it. The next day I woke up to the sound of static and saw that my CRT TV was turned on. Did I forget to turn it off last night? I went to turn off my CRT TV, but when I turned the knob, my Nintendo 64 turned on instead and Pokemon Colosseum started playing again. This time the normal title screen appeared and there was Professor Oak again with the same creepy smile, and this time it looked like he was holding a super hyper realistic looking beating heart in his left hand. It was so weird and gross that I turned away from the screen to Ralph all over my new rug, but when I turned toward my collection of vintage Pokemon plushies, I saw that they all had big holes cut into their chests with fluff coming out. It startled me a little, but I realized it was probably just our dog chewing up my toys again, but then I remembered with horror that we didn't have a dog. I slowly turned back to the CRT TV screen and saw that Professor Oak was now gone from the Pokemon Colosseum title screen. This kind of freaked me out, so I turned off my CRT TV and turned off my Nintendo 64 and then unplugged my CRT TV and Nintendo 64 from the wall and soon forgot about it. The next day I woke up and saw that my CRT TV was on and my Nintendo 64 was on, and on the screen was the title screen for Pokemon Colosseum again, but this time the music was playing slow and sounded weird and would occasionally distort. Professor Oak was back and holding the heart again, but this time he had two big black holes where his eyes should be, and there was red stuff pouring out from the holes. I decided that this was all too weird and got my dad's old laptop from his room. I was taking metal shop at school this year, so I was really good at plugging my dad's old laptop into the Nintendo 64's mainframe. I turned on my dad's old laptop and I got a message in my AOL Instant Messenger. I opened the message and it said, "Thank you for setting me free in the internet." I messaged back and asked, "Who are you?" I got a message back that just said Scary Oak. I realized then that the old Nintendo 64 cartridge didn't have Scar Yoak written on it in black Sharpie at all, but what was actually written was Scary Oak. I knew that this was really bad and had to stop Scary Oak from infecting the whole internet, but my dad's old laptop still has dial-up, so in a panic I googled on my phone how to stop Scary Oak, but when my thumb hit search, the two O's on the Google homepage turned into big black holes with red pouring out of them, and in my search bar were the words, "You're next." So I went to the police to show them my haunted Nintendo 64 cartridge and the Google home screen, and when they saw it, they said it was all just a hoax and I was overreacting. Somehow I knew the police wouldn't help, so I ran home to show my mom, but when I got back to my house, it was just an empty lot. I turned around slowly, and there, standing across the street, was the scary old man from the garage sale, but he was dressed like Professor Oak and was holding what looked like a red water balloon in his left hand. Then I felt my chest get really warm, and when I looked down, there was a hole in my chest, with red pouring out.